Our morning team, back in the place. I'm with the Audi A2. I think this is episode 7, I think. Just check for me, will you? Because I'm a bit busy at the moment. Right, wheel arch rear is out, cover, so that needs a bit of a clean. I've gotten the drum off without having to loose anything in there, and the shoes are rather skinny. That is why when the handbrake is pulled, there's the lever there, you can see it's scoring against the actual hub itself because it's travelling too far, because these are too low. So they're going to be changed with those, and these springs and all that gubbins and the clips, they're all going to be changed with those. Okay, right, the Monroe shock absorber is now in. They are 16mm nuts and a bolt on there. That is now in there. It's got a new buffer in there, a new bump stop. Someone had put this one in upside down. I don't know for why, but it only kind of goes in one way, sort of type stuff. So we'll file that under B for bin. I've had a good clean round. I've lubed everything, and I'm just about to get my basil out, my basil brush, and literally go around in all these places and get rid of all the grit and shit and crap and goo and nastiness, and then give that a bit of a tinker. The cylinder looks absolutely spot on. I'll get my brake cleaner in here in a minute just to give that a once over when all this gubbins is off. New drum is all nicely painted, ready to go. So like I say, things are going okay at the moment, but it's early. It's got plenty of time to go wrong, hasn't it? I'm still checking the net now for my last little video about help with the gear lever. No replies yet. Come on, you lot, crack on. Yeah, I really wanted to get that rear hub off, that rear bearing today, but I haven't got a 36mm socket, unless I have one in the shed of fixing. I might have, but to be fair, that doesn't feel too old, in all fairness. No, if it spun around really freely and was a bit grumbly, but that is still got that sort of slight tightness to it. I know that's going to affect the rolling resistance, but I think we're okay there. I might even pop that cap off and just have a look in there anyway. So I need to wire brush all of this stuff just to get all of that bonus off of there. Bonus, nauseous. I want to give that. Thing is, I thought the brake cable was seized, but no, it works that arm quite easily, so that's not a problem, and it returns perfectly. So I should give that a bit of a squirt when I've got this lot out, get a bit of oil up that cable. Yeah, it's looking all right. I thought, they're going to be split and there's going to be oil everywhere and all this lot would be knackered. Right, let me get all this apart. These things, you just put your pliers sort of on there and you push in and twist and pull, and then the pin comes out from the back, the spring and clip comes out from the front. And do those two, and you should be able to just that off of there and that off of there. If not, use a bit of leverage with your big levery screwdriver. Right, let me crack on, because I need a brew and a bacon sandwich. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Boy, oh boy, what a dog that was. Absolute nightmare. Anyway, so I've painted around, I cleaned all that up, the back plate, I cleaned all that up, cleaned all the inside up. That's now on there. I've done the brakes, so yeah, it's all bled. It's all lovely. I've just cleaned the wheel arch. That's about £4 worth of weight on it. It's going to tidy this little area up here. Subframe bushes seem a little bit on the worn side. I don't know if that's something you can get separately, guys. I'm not sure. If you could drop a comment below, well, that would be nice, because that looks like a bitch of a job, doesn't it? And this brake pipe, let's put the light on. That brake pipe in there seems a little bit squished. That metal pipe coming out from behind, inside the subframe sort of thing. Looks a little bit on the squash side, doesn't it? But anyway, the brakes work. Caroline's been in there on the old pedal and the old handbrake. and that, and it all works. I don't want to ratchet the handbrake. I have to unratchet the handbrake. Let me show. If you're thinking about doing it and not done it yet, you have to take your hammer and smash that piece off. And basically in there is the adjuster for the handbrake cable. So if you wind that right back, well, not right back, let it off until you don't pull on that plate in there any further, because that's got the cables attached to it. So when that's all freed off, then you have a bit of play in the back on the spring to get that spring back and hook it back over your new shoes. New shoes, that was a good track, wasn't it, back in the 80s? Anyway, so there we are. I'm just going to whack all that back together, and by golly, that was a toad. Everything that could possibly annoy me annoyed me. Okay, right, catch you in a bit. Right, cracking on with side 2. Just want to show you this little thingy here. That there, it's on a spring, so it's constantly got downward pressure. That is basically the top of it there. It's like a wedge shape, and it is the tensioner for the handbrake, I think, or guess, or just the, no, it's the adjuster, isn't it? So as the pads wear and go out and out and out, that wedge falls down to stop them collapsing back in too far. So yeah, that's a little adjuster there. Right, let's whip this off. As you can see, they're absolutely freaking crackered. Rusty as you like back there. I've tried to do the best I can to tidy it up. The reason I'm changing these shocks is because they're about to pop. Literally, I mean, they do still shock, they still do absorb, but they are literally waiting to pop. And look at the state of these. Look. That should be inside this, like so. Not up there. Anyway, that's already had a bath. Got all my gear ready, shoes, fixing kit, lube, drills, brushes, screwdrivers, hammers, mark grips, handy wipes, new drum and new shock. So let's crack on. Good morning all. GMB, got me boo. It's the next day, as you can quite clearly see. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for the moment. I now need to do other works on the Audi, but unfortunately getting into the shed is going to be an issue. Let's go and have a look at it. So yesterday I completed the rear brake stuff. That's all sorted out. I've looked through the paperwork that I got with the car, and both the rear cylinders were changed 2014. So I mean, they're working, they're doing the job, so they can stay there. The rear wheel bearings were changed. I wish I'd have looked at the paperwork before I went and bought some. They were changed 2015 on, I think, 90,000 miles or something. The cam belt was done 58,000 miles, and the intervals are 60 for this particular car, the TDI. So it should have been done at 120. It's now on 144 odd thousand. So I have the cam belt kit. I'm not doing that today. The car now runs and drives. I have found out. Ooh, my door bodge still works. That just unlocked it. There we go. And we have up on the dashboard. Can't even get me. Flipping key doesn't even work properly. Showing the front door open. I'm cool. I mean, that's cool. Right, let's do the flap for the bonnet that isn't a bonnet. Yeah, I found out yesterday why the I couldn't select any gears and the gear lever was all stiff. It is the selector tower that sits on top of the gearbox. One YouTuber has already changed his gearbox oil, so if you want to see how to do that, just Google Audi 1.4 TDI gearbox oil change and it will pop up. Who was it? Tired, as in TYRED. Tired something. I forget his second YouTube channel now. I do apologise, mate, if you're watching. Right, so yes, that tower, I grabbed hold of it and tried to lift it, because lifted up is reverse, and swinging it round is gear selection. Um, so I've oiled it generously around the stalk where it goes down through the gearbox, and I've now managed to pull it up, free it off. I've literally been around the block 2 or 3 times, changed this gear beautifully. But why was it doing that? I reckon the problem lies with this, because this is what happened with the other chap's Audi diesel. What happens is there's a gutter pipe down here and one on this side, and it falls into a receptacle under the bonnet. I'll show you those in a minute, like little drains, and they just drain away via pipe work. Now, if this one gets folded up, where you put the bonnet back on, it goes in and then slides in. So obviously it could kink or deform that rubber, so it doesn't sit in that receptacle cup. So the water is then going straight down, and what's directly below it? Yes, it's the gearbox selector tree. So I think that's what's happening to mine. So I have new gearbox oil. I have some ramps, so I'm going to drive her up onto some ramps shortly, get under there and get the drain plug out. You have to remove a bracket first before you can get to that drain plug. I think it's 3 bolts. So get that plate out the way. It's the lower engine gearbox sort of mount bush bracket thing. It stops the engine twisting like that when you rev it up. So it's all good. I can check the condition of that whilst I'm there. And then I have a massive set of Allen keys that go up to 19mm, I think mine do. And the fill plug is a 17mm, I do believe, Allen key. So I get in there, and I have an electric pump, 12-volt pump, which pumps oil. So I can just stick the draw end in the oil bottle itself and put the little hose up into the fill hole and stick in I think it's 1.4 or 1.7 litres. I'll start off at 1.4, then I'll read up the manual that I haven't got. I'll Google it online, and then I'll put the correct amount in. I've got a horrible feeling that, that selector shaft tree thing needs to really come out of there. But you get to the release point from my VW plate right on the bottom of the engine. Got 2 bolts on it. Undo that, you undo, I think there's a bolt or a circlip or something in there, and then you can pull the shaft out the top once you've disconnected all those horrible selector cables and all that mechanism. There is a bush in there when it all rotates and goes up and down, sort of thing, like this, clunk, 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 clunk. I think there's a brass bush in there, and it wears, so it starts to teeter like that. But of course, the more water that goes in, the more it's going to erode and fail. So I really need to get that tree out of there. I'm not going to faff around with that today because I'm still physically knackered from yesterday's brake thing, should we say, encounter. I think I've got the onsets of fibromyalgia. It's either that or osteoarthritis. I've got to go for an x-ray. But every time I do something now on the car or the bikes or whatever, the next day I'm beaten. Well, I was actually beaten yesterday afternoon. I was laying on the floor. Caroline bought us out a mug of coffee, and I was dead. And luckily she managed to give me a hand to tidy up and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm a bit physically fucked at the moment, beg my pardon. So yeah, like I said, that tree needs to come out. I won't do that today. My main thing today is to get underneath the car, get that gearbox oil out, which is sealed for life. Is it book? And get the new oil in there, run it around the block a few times, and just see if that improves anything. And I really want to get some proper grease down that tower hole. There is like a gap. Once you lift it up into reverse, there's a bit of a gap you can get in there. I want to pack that with grease, really, just to stop any other nasties getting in if it's worn, getting down that gap. Right, okay, stop waffling easy. You need to drink your brew. Kids are in the pool already, that's okay. Yeah, I've had my breakfast, scrambled eggs on toast and mushrooms. And I get under here and do some oily stuff. Right, catch you in a bit. Incidentally, I've just looked you up again, chappy. Tyred Format, T-Y-R-E-D Format. That's the guy that does an awful lot of work on Audi A2s. Well, his Audi A2 anyway, specifically. And the reason that I didn't do the most important thing, which is gearbox selection, the gearbox oil, is because I'm kind of on a bit of a slope out here. And without a handbrake, because the rear brakes didn't work, I couldn't
put the handbrake on to jack the front up. It would just roll forward and off the axle stands, and I'd be all squished and about that fat, which is probably a good thing, actually. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, tyre format, look him up if you're an A2 buff. He's done loads of things to his car, and he's a top mechanic, and so is his friend, and awesome. So thank you for your tutorial on how to do the gearbox oil. I wouldn't have known otherwise that the drain plug for the gearbox was underneath that bracket. So there you go. Right, okay, let's crack on.
Right, here I am, floor of despair. The sun's out, so let's just crack on. Right, I've loosened off these three, 1, 2, and there's one behind there. They're all 16mm. This one's 17mm, just to literally just take this plate out of the way because the drain plug's under there. And the refill plug is there, 17mm. So let's get me Allen key on it. Ooh, that's a big one, easy. Right, let's crack it off. Yeah, good. Okay, that's good. Right, I'm not going to film all this because it's been done before by somebody else. Tired format. You feel my pain, sir, don't you? You feel my pain. Right, let me crack on and let's see what colour oil comes out of the bottom of that gearbox. Right, here we are. I've undone. That's also a 17mm Allen key. Let's get the container in place. Now I'm hoping, where is it? There. I'm hoping that the colour of the oil that comes out of there is oil colour. I know that sounds stupid, but if water's dripping down from that gear selector tower at the top there, it's going to be a rusty colour. So place your bets. That's not bad. It's a little bit on the rusty colour side. So there is a tiny bit of water in there. But that's not bad at all, is it? What I might do whilst that's draining from there is I might undo these two, looks like 12mm. That's the bottom. This is the bottom end of the shaft of that gear selector tree thingy at the top there. But because this is almost lower than there, I should get a little bit more oil out of there from there. That needs a bit of a clean, doesn't it? Right, lead me to it. My oil was well and truly drained, and before I take that little VW cap off the bottom, actually I'll do it now actually, what I'm going to do is take that tree selector mechanism out, which involves quite a little bit. I've got to take that stay bar out of the way. One bolt, one nut is the top starter motor thing. Actually I might take the starter motor off and give that a good blast as well. Disconnect the battery easy. And the other one is there to take off, that gets that out of the way, which allows me then to get in there and get that up out of there. I have to disconnect these rods. Not sure how easy or hard that is, but people that do this tend to buy these new pieces to adjust, and these are the adjusters basically. They adjust the length and shortness of the cables. It's a bit tricky, isn't it, that one? Anyway, because I don't really want to just put the oil back in it and then try and take this out, because when I take that plate off the bottom of the gearbox, it's all going to come pouring out again, isn't it? Deconture. But I didn't want to be working too long on the car today. I need to rest. I really need to rest. Anyway, I've sorted out my oil pump. Not car oil pump, but filling oil pump. There's a little beastie there. It's 12 volt. I plug it into my little spare battery and it's in and out. So you put the bottle on that hose and the out hose goes in the filler hole and it squirts it all in. Apparently, by general consensus, apparently it's 1.5 litres. So I have 2 litres. Breathe easy, breathe. You can't talk and breathe at the same time. What to do? Do I take that tower off and give it a good clean as winter's coming, so it's just done? I'm going to take the little plate off the bottom. This one here. This one here, I've undone the bolts already. I just want to see what it involves, getting the shaft out, what's inside here that I need to undo. If it's something really simple, I'm just going to do it. Just going to crack on and do it. Right, let me crack on. Okay, here's the thing. I've managed to get the top 13mm nut off of the tower, which is, I'll try and get you down there. It's so tight, it's ridiculous. Off of that tower there. Okay, that's that one there. And I've managed to remove the oil seal that was over there, down in there. And as you can see, or can't see because it's not focusing, it is that top flat bit there, the outer seal has gone all the way around there. It was literally hanging off. So I've cleaned it up, and I've been in here with some gearbox oil, just dropping it down in here and working it, but it's still quite gritty. That bit, you can see it sticking, that should be free. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this chain grease, basically. So I've put a hose. Oh, I haven't. It's gone. Where's it gone? Oh, you swine. Nothing goes easy, does it? I have put a piece of green hose I've found, a bit of a medical grade hose, onto the top of the cap, and I can then pop the end of that down into there. It's not in my mouth at all, like that, and I can pretty much inject the grease down into there, like so. Right, let's bring you out of there, put you on top of there. This is my mojo, look, I found my mojo. Let's put that back on there. Right, let's get injecting, shall we? Let's try and get the camera down in there to see all the action. Action Jackson. Get in there, grease. Whoa! Get in there. I took that bottom plate off the gearbox with the VW on it, and it literally doesn't come off in your hand. It's not like a cap. It's got something connected to it, the mechanism inside. Get in there. Raw. Whoa. Oh man, that feels so much better. It will obviously work in a bit. See, it's springing out on its own now. Look, that wasn't doing that before. Oops, a bit stucky. Let's give it some more. Raw. Don't be scared of it, Edie. Oh yeah, that's better. Better than a poke in the eye with a blunt stick, isn't it? I'm not going to do the start mode today because I really want to get that oil in the bottom, in the gearbox, and take it for a bit of a run. I think I've done quite enough this weekend to get it on the road. Right, that's going to do for that. Let's get that straw rubber hose out the way. What can I put back instead of that oil seal, because I don't have one? Well, I've kind of been rummaging through my boxes, and I've got your basic 20mm open grommet for electrical work because I'm a Sparky, and that seems to fit quite nice and tightly over that shaft, and it just so happens to fit exactly into there. But yeah, I'm not really sure what that's achieving, if anything. I found this in my box of bits and pieces. It's rubber. I don't know if I can just, I think it's a bit too small internal diameter to slide down over there. Yes it is, but I could sort of literally Stanley knife out this this top hat piece there and see if that's a really tight, because that actually goes right over the metal work there. But then again, when the gearbox lever comes up like so, the selector comes up, it's going to pull that out of there, isn't it, and leave that wildly open to all sorts of nasties. On the other hand, I could just order one of those oil cells, couldn't I? I think for now I'm going to go with the original oil seal that is a bit sad. It is a bit tired and knackered and torn. It came out fairly easily, in all honesty. So I didn't damage it any more than it is already, as you can see. I'm going to reinstall that, I think. Order one, because it's just a 13mm nut. What you do on this selector shaft here, which is that one there, which goes obviously that metal pin goes through there like that, you see. What you do there is on this end you have a plastic cap, thus, so you pull that cap off, and underneath the cap you have one of these slidey on clasps, if you see what I mean. There's a bit of a nipple on the end of this. When it comes through, there's a bit of an indentation or a groove, if you like, in that arm, and that literally, that horseshoe clip snaps over it, and then you put the black plastic cap over it. So to save dismantling fucking millions of things and snapping these off and all this kind of thing, they're all still in situ. They're all just as they were, and I've left the brackets on the end. My finger keeps blasting in the way, doesn't it? So I'm going to give this a good grease in a second, because that is a little bit on the rough side. There's not really anything to stop gunge getting in there, really, which is a bit sad. But there you go. Right, to be continued. Whilst that oil is settling in upstairs there on that selector, I've done these bolts back up, these 13mm. I have put the 17mm drain plug for the gearbox back in. I have put my out hose into my out hole. Better grab hold of that, because the pressure might actually force it back out once I turn it on. Okay, here is my pumpeth. It is plugged into battery. This is obviously the out, and that's the in from this bottle, so we can watch that level going down as it pumps. Let's just crack it on. Well, that didn't take long, did it? There's a litre in there, pretty much sorted, so I need to put half a litre in there. So let me just get my other bottle. Okay, new bottle plumbed in. Let's wang half of that in there. Whoa. Just a bit over, just to be on the safe side. There we go, that's job done, I reckon. Now, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have to put it back on the suck, aren't I? Right, anyway, right, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I need to put that back together, go for a run. Oh my goodness, that needs to be decaked. There is a significant, well, not significant, but there is an oil leak somewhere. It looks like the bottom of the turbo is covered in oil, which isn't a very good sign. Where are we? The right hand drive shaft oil seal up there, in there, is proper caked. I have both the seals and I have both new drive shafts to go in, but just to get me to working back tomorrow, I'm not going to faff around now doing any more of that nasty heavy work, because I am physically shagged. Okay, like I say, I'll wrap it up there. That's the end of this episode. Might be episode 7, I don't know. Thank you so much for all your tips online, everybody. You know, Richard, Andy, and the other Andy, and everybody else, all you guys that have commented, Ian and everybody, thank you very, very much. It really helps out, because sometimes it's worth thinking outside the box, isn't it? And you know, 3 or 4 brains are better than one, especially mine. So yeah, bottom of my heart, big thank you. I'm just going to put that control selector mechanism, nest, tower, Christmas tree, whatever you want to call it, back together. I'm going to go for a drive and see what it's like. Right, just before I clear off, I've just shown you what I've refitted. I've refitted that, obviously. I've refitted this nice clean bracket. It's been the paraffin cleaner. Let's have a lovely clean. It was caked pretty much like this front subframe is. So there's chance of this rusting out is 0. That's the way I look at it anyway. I've given it a darn good clean, and for good reason, because I want to find out exactly where that oil is leaking from. It's either that output shaft seal in there, or it's coming from up top, up there, you see, or even over there. So I don't know. Some plug there nicely in. It's coming from somewhere. All that is caked. I really don't want to put my new drive shafts on and have them all caked in grease, in oil and stuff. So I'm just going to go around making sure everything's tight. All these little nuts and bolts. I'm going to nip these up. I've noticed a bit of weepage on this gearbox to engine, well, gearbox to flywheel housing, clutch housing. Bit of weepage going on there. So I'm just going to try and do a few bits and pieces. Then brew, cold pizza from yesterday, bed, I think. A bit of Ribena later. Take it easy, guys. Catch you again in episode 8. I hope I haven't got any boogers up there. Do apologise. Anyway, guys, like I say, so thanks for looking, thanks for watching, thanks for liking. If you can drop me a like, that would be fantastic. It helps me become Elon Musk in no time, really. And it's all good, isn't it? Take care, guys. Till see you again. I should be on Friday about 9:30 evening for just a general chit chat about what makes the world go round, really. Okay, right, catch you in a bit.
Mojo.